Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and a Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Jeff, which is me. I'm missing my Pacho today, but I have been on the road with my beautiful wife walking the Camino de Santiago. If any listeners that I met on that trip are listening, I love you and appreciate you, and buen camino to you. And it is a spiritual journey where you walk about 500 to 600 miles through Spain, and you just get to the essential ingredients of life. And so we're going to get into that today with our guest, Ron Reich, who is coming from Montclair, New Jersey. And first, you can reach out to Ron just at LinkedIn, and you just put in his name, R-O-N, and then his last name, R-E-I-C-H. And then you can also find him on Instagram at leadership_RLB. And so about our guest, Ron is president of RLB Training and Development and is passionate about leadership management and development. Ron is a leadership subject matter expert with 28 years of coaching experience. An expert facilitator, Ron believes involving participants in their learning leads to higher engagement and quality results. Ron loves to read and stays current with the most recent research and philosophies to best serve his clients. Ron, thanks for living your passion and for being our guest on Life's Essential Ingredients, and welcome to the show.
Oh, Jeff, truly, it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, just in your introduction, I'm sitting here thinking of different things we can be talking about. And I'm excited. It's good to be here. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, anytime I get the chance to talk leadership and life, I just love it. And then in researching you, I just love what you stand for, the values of how you live your life, and in knowing that you're just what I said at the end, living your passion, living your purpose. And so that's just essential. And I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of this episode. And so, Ron, we always start with a thought of the day. And this is from one of your gurus that I had to take, but it just jumped out to me. And it's funny how these work because they always ground us for the whole episode. And so it is from Stephen R. Covey, and it's a short and simple one, but powerful. The key is in not spending time, but in investing it. Why would I pick that one for you?
The reason you would probably want to pick that for me is I believe, Jeff, and I think what Stephen's talking about there, every single thing we do in our lives, professionally and personally, is a choice. Everything is a choice. I invest my time. One of the activities that we do in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's one of my favorites, is we pair people off and just ask them, please share with each other all the things you have to do for the rest of this week. Just what do you have to do for the rest of this week? So they'll do it, and then their partner will go. And if I'm participating, if we have an odd number of people and I participate, I'll look at my partner and I say, okay, Ron, what do you have to do this week? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then, what do you mean? What do you mean? I say, I don't have to do anything. Everything I do is a choice. And then the second part of the activity, which is so interesting, is that convert all of your have tos and must do's, which are synonymous, into I choose to or I'm going to do these things. And I'll tell you, I had an interesting experience in Philadelphia a number of years ago. I was doing a class, not a Covey class, and I got to talking with one of the hotel employees. And she was telling me, I have to go pick up my son after work. I have to get him to soccer, and then I have to make him dinner. And she's going on, and I said, would you do me a favor? Could you just change your verbiage to I choose to? And she did, and we talked about it. And it was so interesting, Jeff, because she said to me, oh my goodness, you're right. Everything I'm doing is a choice. All of this I'm doing for him. And I feel so much less stress right now because it's my choice. And I was like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And yeah, the older I get, hopefully I get a little bit wiser, but it's just in finding the simplicity in life. How can we make life simple through all these different challenges that come at us? And I think you've demonstrated a great way too, of just, hey, what are the things you get to choose to do, and how you get to invest your time and hopefully find your purpose and make an impact that gives you a reason for doing it again and again and again. And let's get into this. So obviously you have tremendous insight, but when did you first start to realize that there's something inside me that really loves this leadership and is kind of speaking to me to get this and share this message with the world?
When the way I got into training and development, it's a long story and I'll make it quick. I started out in HR all those years ago, working for a small consulting firm. We're all friends. For a number of different reasons, we decided to close the doors. We did. I'm going through a pretty nasty divorce. I moved. I didn't have to. I chose to move back in with my mom and dad because I had nowhere to go. I get a telephone call from a guy out of the blue in Dallas, Texas, a recruiter. I got a job with Toshiba. It's the exact opposite of what you are. They're looking for somebody who has a lot of training and some HR. You've got a lot of HR and some training. And Jeff, I always wanted to get into training more deeply. It always seemed interesting to me. It always called to me. This guy, Tom Sparks, said to me, I can get you in front of the people at Toshiba. Your job is to get them to flip their competencies. They did, and I have been in training and development since. I got a taste of leadership there, and I did a lot of sales training initially, and just the leadership development just followed, and I never left it. And it is truly my passion. I just love doing this.
I love it. And you took probably one of the most challenging times in your life of getting divorced, going back home, losing your job, and then making the choice to have a mindset of, let me get into something different. Might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's something that I can see myself doing and being really good at, and going and then executing that and having an amazing career. Man, what a story.
And I want to add something to it, because for me, it ties into everything we're talking about here. One of my big mantras for my entire life, professionally and personally, is, Ron, stay out of the results business. And so much of my life is none of my business. And the serenity prayer is so important to me. Just God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And where I'm going with that, Jeff, simply is, when I was interviewing for jobs during that time, I had interviewed with an insurance company 3 times for an HR job. And all I needed to do was go back the 4th time and get the quote unquote blessing from the executive vice president of HR. This guy turned out to be a jerk, frankly. I mean, he didn't like me. I didn't like him. I walked out of there and I was like, man, that fell apart. What am I going to do now? I thought this was it. I was going to get this job. 6 weeks later, I end up interviewing with Toshiba. And here I am 28 years later. Stay out of the results business, Ron. Everything happens for a reason. Do your part, and deal with the results as they come. And that works for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think it's getting to be trickier, every moving day forward, with so much kind of comparison that technology is amazing, but I think there's just so many different avenues to capture what you're doing. And I think if you're not careful, you can get wrapped up in what everybody else is doing and all the results that they're getting and lose sight of your values and your characteristics that have been your guiding force, your compass, and you start to do things that are more result oriented. So I guess that's my next question is, what values, characteristics have been influential in your personal development that have allowed you to not have your eye, so to say, on the end result, and more the personal development?
I think, it's interesting because I'm going to go back to the 7 habits again. And when I went through the class and when I wrote my personal mission statement, one of the activities within that is jot down people who have influenced you over the years. So I jotted down a number of different people. My mom, my dad were both alive at the time. They were in there, an old boss, some friends. And the one word that kept coming up throughout the entire activity was honesty for me. It was just weaving throughout the whole thing. So honesty is very important to me. And one of the other things that I noticed is that I try to be a simple guy. I mean, I really do. I mean, I like honesty. I like simplicity. And I think that has been just very, very helpful for me over the years, is that I try not to, quote unquote, impress people. It's like, here's the material we're going to talk about, or here, as we're talking, let's just have a conversation. And I just want to be myself. I want to be my authentic self. And I do that by being honest. I do that by being simple.
I love that. Which is not so simple, now.
Well, that's right.
I think
that's what it is.
Yeah. And I think you have to have a really high level of emotional intelligence, one. And then I think you have to have just a tremendous self-awareness to know who you are. And I guess that would be my next question is, how would you guide a client to develop self-awareness?
So self-awareness for me, Jeff, comes from a number of different things. Number two, there are so many different aspects to it. The two biggest ones for me, though, you need to find out, and again, both personally and professionally, what are your strengths? What do you do really, really well? And I know what my strengths are, and I'm proud of them, and I have fun with them. I mean, I'm a good facilitator, and I say that proudly, not, hey, everybody, look at me. I've been doing it a long time. I know what I'm doing, and I'm good at it, and I'm proud of that. And I'm a resource to people. You had said earlier during the intro, I'm an avid reader, and I love helping people, and the reading helps me do that, because I can pull from all the information that I've read. Here's a book you might want to read. Here's a model I learned in this book. And those sorts of things. And then on the other side of that, people also need to be very clear on what are their limitations. Is that I've got my limitations. I share my strengths openly and freely. I do the same thing with my limitations. I'm not strong technically. I never have been. I never will be. I mean, I can do the basics, yes. If something goes wrong technically, my hand goes up in a class. Everybody, I don't know what to do. I need some help here. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to say, well, I'm not embarrassed to do that. Sometimes I am, candidly, except I'd rather, again, it goes back to be honest with them and tell them and ask for help instead of trying to fix something I don't know how to do or I don't know how to fix.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, you said a whole bunch, and I love the strengths-based approach. And I'm a believer in that as well. And then I really enjoyed how you talked about, hey, I'm not afraid to raise my hand and ask for help. And I think that kind of is a skill set, again, just like self-awareness. And Mike and I are both basketball coaches, and we played basketball at the University of San Francisco, which is where we met. I've been a coach for 20 plus years, Mike, just a little bit less. But I think learning how to ask for help is something that anybody would benefit from. And I think as a coach and as a facilitator, a skill that needs to be practiced and taught so people can get comfortable, being uncomfortable and asking for help. Because in asking for help is, if you just flip kind of back to how you started the show of have to versus choose to, if you can flip how you look at asking for help, it's not something that you're less than. You're actually providing an opportunity for someone else to shine. And in doing that, you create a relationship which is going to allow you both to grow. And everybody's good at something and not so good at something else. And so, really, really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah. And I mean, Jeff, you put it beautifully, truly, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. It's just so true. We all do things well. We all do. And we all, again, have our limitations, allowing us to collaborate, allowing us to synergize and work together, like Covey says, and we, with the strengths that we bring to the table. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Like you said, that's how relationships get stronger. I need your help. Okay.
Yeah. And that just leads me to kind of, building culture, which is huge. And I'm sure many reasons why you get called in to do the work that you do. Maybe walk us through, even defining culture, and then how would you help if you have, say, an organization who comes to you, hey, Ron, we're just really struggling. We don't have employees that are open to learning and feedback and growing, whatever, maybe you pick a scenario that you've worked through, but I love culture. I think it's the guiding force to everything when you get it right, and could cause the wheels to fall off when it's not right. But what are your thoughts on it, and even how would you define it?
Culture for me, and again, this is my definition, and it's not going to be real formal, again, being simple as it were. For me, what does it feel like to work here? What does it feel like to live here? If we're going to have a family culture, what does it feel like? And from that, how do we treat each other? What are the major things we need to do for each other and with each other? And I'll tell you, I'm going to give a plug to a book, if I may.
Yeah.
One of the best books, Jeff, that I've read over the years, and it's the one I ask my clients to read whenever they do ask me to come in and work on culture. It's called The Advantage. Excuse me. It's called The Advantage, written by Patrick Lencioni. Okay. And I love what he talks about in there. He says every organization in this country is smart. Every single company is smart. It has smart people working in it. The problem is most of the organizations in this country are extremely unhealthy. Is that they don't know how to work with each other. They don't know how to treat each other. And there are just so many different exercises within the book itself, that can help to, I'm not even sure I want to say create a culture, to try to develop a culture that then people can influence themselves, if that makes any sense to you. And I mean, I did that down in Atlanta with a reasonably small technology company. I met the vice president. I think he was the vice president of operations something. We were talking at an event, and he said to me, he said, our company is getting to a point where we need some structure. We need more guidelines. We've reached 100 employee mark and we're growing. And he said, we need an organizational chart and those things. And I was like, sure you do. Absolutely. Ended up talking with Nick, the CEO. Nick, read the advantage, please, and then we'll talk. Got him on the phone after he read it. Now, the only thing he said to me was, get down here and take us through this. And again, so some of the points, though, here, culture becomes part of the fabric of the organization, as long as, again, people are open to that. And or it's a proven fact, people will work more effectively together when they know each other than when they know each other well, both professionally and personally. And one of the things I like to do in these sorts of situations is have people tell a story just about their life. Tell us a story about your life that helped to shape you into who you are and what you are today. I did that with this company, and I asked Nick, and I said, if you don't mind, Nick, when we get to this point, I'd like you to go first. And if you don't mind, if you could think of a story where you make yourself vulnerable to your team, fine, I'll do it. We met in his house. He had a real big house. He was comfortable doing that. The entire executive team and myself were sitting around his table. He said, okay, next story time. He goes, okay. And again, I'll make this short. His story was longer. He said, people, when I was a little kid, I was incredibly ambitious, incredibly. So ambitious that I got 2 paper routes instead of 1. And I saved money because what I desperately wanted to do was get a VCR. Obviously, this was many years ago. He said, I saved my money and I got my VCR and I had $65 left. And I went to my mom and dad and said, Mom, Dad, I'm 12 now. Can I go to the carnival by myself? Son, you know what? You've proven yourself to be mature and so forth. You may. All of us at the table are sitting there, like, okay, sort of interesting. What's the point, Nick? He goes on. He said, I went to the carnival. I got my wristband. I got my hot dog. And then the tears started. And they were slow at first. And he was like, and then I started to play the games. And within a half an hour, my $65 was gone. The guy who took my money, and he's openly crying now, and I mean openly, called me the biggest sucker he had ever seen in his entire life. Folks, I vowed from that day forward I would never, ever, ever be taken advantage of like that again. And that's the reason I'm so tight with the money at this company. And everybody looked at me like, oh my goodness, now we know. Now we know, because Nick, we thought you were just so tight with the money. We thought you just, every penny has to be accounted for. It's like, now we understand. And again, my point is that's not going to become part of the culture. People can start to understand, though, that's what happened to our leader. He's open, he's vulnerable. And from that, you can start to make decisions about the culture, about the organization. And one of the most important things that needs to happen culturally, Jeff, in my opinion, is that any organization needs to have a real solid mission and vision. Because it's off of those two things that you make your major decisions. Yeah. I went on and on and on, and I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
No. It's great. It's a great story. And I just love how, it's just vital towards engaging all people. If you're talking in this instance about the executive staff, of really be able to know each other on a personal level. And I guess that's where it gets a little bit tricky. How would you advise, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this, but people that say, well, no, work is work for me and home is home. And I think that's a slippery slope for sure. But have you run across groups where they're just like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to come. I'm an 8 to 5, employee, and I'm going to do my job. But I'm not buying into this culture stuff. I'm not buying into being vulnerable. I'm not buying, just let me do my job, and how would you advise a client where you just have somebody that's just not buying in, or maybe that's just the culture, and yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Jeff. I mean, you're hitting on some really important points because, again, and it goes back to, at least for me, it's a choice for everybody. You know, people don't have to make themselves vulnerable. People don't have to tell, you know, an intimate story about themselves. That's okay. That's okay. And if that's who they are, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Part of this exercise too, though, is, and this is what I said to Nick, and this is what I say to my clients, is that you need to realize something. As we go through this and people start to look at and understand what we're covering and what we're talking about, not everybody is going to buy into this. And you may lose some people due to this. And that's okay too, because not everybody is going to buy into it. And, you know, do you want these types of individuals at your organization? And I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. It's all individual decisions to make. I mean, my experience has been too, though, I will say that the more vulnerable people make themselves, the more effective these sessions are. And I mean, and I can share with you a different example. I was down in Miami with a client, and we were talking about the importance of relationships at work. And you know, we had discussed it, and these were some senior people. And one of the individuals in the room just said, "You know what? Yeah, we just talked about relationships, folks. And you know what? We don't know each other very well. I mean, we really, really don't know each other on a deep level." So I asked everybody, would you develop a story to share tomorrow? The leader of the group had gone through a divorce at one point in time, and he didn't tell his team. He didn't tell them he was going through a divorce. And everybody was like, "What's wrong with him? I mean, he's you know, he's just mean. He's always angry and just upset." He never told them. He ended up telling the story. When I was a little boy, I was incredibly intelligent. And I had a big decision to make when I was 10 or 11 years old. Am I going to stay? Do I want to stay really strong academically? And do I just want to study real hard and do the best I can? Or do I want to fit in with the other kids? And I decided I wanted to study really, really hard. And I wanted to become as smart, you know, academically as I possibly could. And it cost me a lot of relationships, and it cost me a lot of social skills, folks. And there it was. Now he made himself vulnerable. Now we're understanding some of the reasons he's like this.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I'm a believer in, you know, C4 Leaders does similar work to you. And my profession for 29 years was that of a registered nurse. And so I'm all about just getting to the goods, because we never know when we're getting called home. And so I think the sooner we can get in and listen with empathy, the sooner we can get in and build trust and deep relationships, the sooner we get into being vulnerable, that will lead to empowerment, the sooner we all get to share our gift with the world. And so, yeah, I definitely believe in what you're doing and the path that will hopefully help all people perform to the best of their ability. But speaking of performance, let's switch it up a little bit. You know, this is called Life's Essential Ingredients. And what are some of the best things that you do for yourself that puts you in a good space each day to go out and do what you need to do? What are some of those essential ingredients?
Habit 7, from Covey, sharpen the saw. Covey recommends, if you can, carve a minimum of an hour a day out for yourself. And what I like to do, Jeff, I'm an early riser. And we have a 2-year-old dog who actually came in the room just a little while ago. I don't know if you saw her. Yeah. She behaved herself and walked right out. I'm an early riser, and one of the things I like to do almost every day, if I can, is take her for an hour-long walk. And what it does, it's exercise for me. It helps to clear my head. And I just think about so many different things when I'm walking with her. And it can range from personal things, friends of mine, what's going on with Mark, what's going on with Roger, whatever it might be. Professionally, what's happening, what's going on. It's to me, it's a form of meditation. And I mean, it's very, very good quiet time for me. And one of the other things that we talked about before is another thing I try to do at least 5 days a week is to read 10 pages a day of a business book. And again, it helps me both professionally and personally. And again, I'll share a story with you, which at the time it was funny and it was also incredibly meaningful. I did a 2-day leadership class for Santa Fe of Venice, and we're finished. And, participants are saying goodbye and thank you and so forth. A guy comes up to me and, Ron, thank you so much. It was 2 days of just great training. You're welcome. I'm really glad to do it. And he leaned into me and he, looked around, and I knew he was going to say something quietly. And I had an inkling of what he was going to say. He said, Ron, it was something else too. I said, yeah, what was that? He said, it was 2 days of great marriage counseling. And that's what I thought he was going to say. And, and again, Jeff, the point is, though, with what I do for a living and with what you do, and even through the coaching that you do, it overlaps professionally and personally. Is that this is all applicable in all areas of my life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I agree. And I think it's hard and I think it seems like the workplace is moving that way of definitely trying to help people find balance in their life, but also realizing that the work-life balance is you do bring who you are to work. And the values of how you live your life. And it's important for people to see that, and important for you to be able to share that, which just kind of goes into your strengths-based approach, of bringing that person to work. And yeah, I've never been one to be able to be somebody different, outside of work. I've always wanted to just be who I am. So then I don't have to change and I don't have to flip a switch. And so, yeah, no, I love that. What are some, and I know you said walking, and I know everything, those were things that you work on and help you get into a good space. We've been talking about strengths, and I know reading was one of them, but how do you suggest, clients, develop their strengths or find even their strength? Maybe you've had somebody that has come to you, be like, I just don't know what I'm good at. Can you help me figure it out?
Sure. So something that I have, that I've developed, it's probably about, I wish I had it in front of me. I didn't think to do it. I have a document called Thought-Provoking Questions, and it's about 15, 16, 17 questions that people can ask themselves that just really, really helps to identify who they are and what they are, both personally and professionally. I'm at my best when. I'm at my worst when. When I was at a high point in my career, what was I doing? What have people consistently complimented me for over the years? And I mean, and again, Jeff, I'm not going to remember all of the questions. If anybody in the audience is interested in this, truly, all they need to do is contact me, and I will gladly send you the file. And I mean, I know it works for a number of different reasons. Number one, people have told me. And interestingly, my wife's cousin, Jen, is the head athletic trainer for a D1 school, actually in the Bay Area. Okay. And she was struggling with some things. And, Lori my wife asked me, would you coach her? Would you talk to her? I was like, yeah, be glad to. I sent her that document as part of the exercise. And when we got on the phone, she was just like, "Oh my, oh my, do you have me thinking?" And it makes such a difference. And again, I'm reminded of something, of another example of this. And it was part of a Covey class that I did. This was actually a time management class many years ago. I'm working for a pharmaceutical company. We do the time management course. A participant comes up to me afterwards, and she is in tears. And she said, "You changed my life today. You absolutely changed my life." I was like, "Okay, good. How?" She was like, "I'm going to resign." I was like, "Okay." And what's going on? She said, "As part of the mission statement that we wrote today, I put down that I want to be the best wife, the best mother, and the best family person that I possibly can be. And this job is not allowing me to do it. And I need to leave, and I'm going to. And I thank you." And I was like, how wonderful. How wonderful is that? Because again, it's what you said before, Jeff. We bring our whole selves to work. How effective an employee was she going to be when she realized, I'm not being a good mom, I'm not being a good wife, and I'm not taking care of the major things in my life that are most important to me. I need to leave. Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Man, unfortunately, it's a great spot to ask you the last question of the show, because I think we can keep taking this on and on, but the impact that you made just from all the stories that you have is just incredible. And so I sure hope your heart is full of love and joy and contentment and happiness, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And there's a great quote from John Alston that says, "The only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind." And so I don't want to get morbid with you, Ron, but I have been a nurse forever and been surrounded by death, and it's coming for us all. And I want to fast forward 40 years or so for you, and you are on your deathbed, and you're surrounded by love and the people that you made an impact on their life. What is it that you want people to leave behind? What do you want to leave behind with the people that you've served?
I think the legacy I want to leave behind is indeed that he cared about people, is that he was sincere, he was honest, and he was just a good man. That he was just a good man. And I mean, if I can do that, I will have succeeded.
I love it. And from researching you and getting to spend a little bit of time with you, I can just feel the genuine kind of concern you have for helping people, develop their self and figure this thing out and to play to their strengths and set a high standard or set an expectation and be able to deliver on that. And so, your clients, the people that are in your life, are fortunate to have you in their presence. Our listeners, definitely that way. And again, the best way to reach out to Ron, again, it's RON, last name REICH, is via LinkedIn. He talked about sharing his wonderful document, and it's probably taken him years to develop those questions of helping you kind of figure out, hey, what direction, what are my strengths? And again, reach out to him via LinkedIn or on Instagram at leadership_RLB. And Ron, we thank you so much for being a guest on Life's Essential Ingredients. It's been my treat, and I know our listeners are really going to enjoy this episode. And with that, Ron, boom, that just happened. We're out.